AITA for asking my fiancé to pay a bride price. Throwaway for obs reasons. I am not asking your opinion on bride prices. I am asking if I was wrong for doing what I did. My fiancé 32M is a white, European man. I 31F am a black African woman. We've been dating for 7 years. I came to his country to study and have lived and worked here since. Ever since we started dating, he took such an interest in my culture. Asked me to teach him my language, culture, and we've even been to visit a few times. He asked me to marry him last year and I accepted. We were planning our wedding. I mentioned we'd need to account for my family back home. We could have the traditional wedding in my home country and the white wedding in his, since we don't want to ask anyone to fly and get visas, etc. The issue came when I mentioned a bride price needing to be paid, something he scoffed at. To call it a bride price is misleading because there is so much more to it than the money that changes hands. It's our time-honored tradition that blends two families into one, and JTS always something I wanted to do when you got married. I mentioned he knew of marriage customs in my country and that they include a BP. We both work in law, human rights type of fields, so he assumed I would be against a BP. I told him I'm against it being a forced and money-making thing, but I'm asking that he does it BC, I choose it, and I want to honor my parents and culture. He refused, saying it was backwards and extortionate and it would be like he bought me. I assured him that wasn't the case. My parents would charge a tokenistic symbolic amount, nothing crazy, just to symbolize us getting together. I said if my parents were to sell me, he couldn't afford me. This set him off in a rage because I somehow insulted him by saying that, when what I meant is my parents aren't looking to make money off me. But this is something my people have done for millennia and I don't want to break from tradition. I have said IDOWk if I'm willing to go ahead with marrying him if he isn't willing to make the trip to my country and talk to my parents about the lobola process. He says I'm manipulating him. I am not. He knew from day one who I was and where I came from. This is what my people do, and I feel for him to label it backwards is Eurocentric BC. He is viewing it from his lens, despite me having explained what it's actually about it. TLDR. My white boyfriend won't pay or honor my culture in our marriage, and if I won't marry him if he's unwilling. AITA? There's a lot of misconception and ignorance in the comments. I shall try to clarify. BF and I didn't talk about BP in our specific context. However, he knew from real life and fictional context the marriage customs of my people. I assumed that he, knowing what he knows, would have known the steps necessary for marrying me. Perhaps I was wrong to assume that. This lobola is no affront to him or his upbringing outside of what I view to be a judgment of moral superiority. A lot of your comments are ignorant with thinly veiled racial undertones. I knew coming to a platform with predominantly white users, this was a risk. I ask that you read what you're saying before you post, and ask yourself if you're coming from a position of superiority colored by your beliefs of Africa and Africans. Step outside your worldview. Frankly, my parents are wealthy. They neither need nor plan to get rich off my marriage. They have a demonstrated pattern of behavior that assures me they are reasonable and fair when it comes to this kind of thing. The money is a minuscule, literally like 5% part of the traditional marriage, but it is a part of it. The other 95% is not monetary and is a beautiful ceremony that blends two families together. My concern is that if he's willing to shun the 95% for the sake of the 5%, what does future W this man look like? Culturally, if we do not go through these customs, I am not married and my marriage won't be recognized. The ceremony is a cultural must-have. The wedding ceremony are nice to have. My family mean a lot and my parents have done a lot for me. I disrespect my parents over something that I not only think is a non-issue, but something I agree with. You seem to miss the part where I am willingly consenting to this. Final edit. Logging off. Lobola is something I am unable and unwilling to scrap. I'll talk to him. We shall decide on the future of this relationship. If it's something he is unwilling to partake in, I guess we'll have our answer. Thanks to those of you who were useful in your advice and respectful in your disagreements. Bye. An update is on my profile for those who keep asking. The op deleted her account and a reply from her to-be husband was removed from the subreddit. Now let's move on to the second story. Has my boyfriend M32 has truly changed F29? I posted here a while back about how my partner was struggling with MH issues and it was affecting our relationship. I asked him to try therapy. Unfortunately, since then he hasn't done this, despite me asking him again. His behavior, however, has changed. He is treating me a lot better, essentially overnight. Unfortunately, some of the things he did have not left my mind. In his worst state, he was quite judgmental about other people. Sometimes he would say things as a joke that would actually hurt my feelings. For instance, he once said that my ass was flat, and when I called him out on it, he said it was just a joke. These kind of things I've struggled to get over, even with his changed behavior now. There are other issues still. He hasn't told his family about me after 2 years. He still comments on others' appearances, e.g., she has a shit haircut. He's become very suffocating now and texts me constantly, which, although I appreciate him showing me the attention I wanted, feels really intense. Doesn't organize dates or plan things for us to do. I usually get a, "Hey, what are you up to tomorrow?" And to be honest, I've started to just make my own plans. Some of his values still clash with mine. He has no issue using slurs in private. So I'm struggling to actually believe that he has changed or will change. Do you believe this behavior is changeable? Or is it just a personality? TL, Doctor, my boyfriend swears he's changed without therapy, but some of his behaviors indicate otherwise. The third story. I 25M need help navigating a relationship with 25M. Can you see a relationship coming out of this? Should I 25F bring up a conversation about a serious relationship with 25M? To cut a long story short, I met this guy a couple of years ago through work. We really hit it off, and after over a year of talking, lived in different cities, we started officially dating. We dated for a year doing long distance before he broke it off. He was sick of distance and had some reservations about someone I had seen in my past briefly, and were on again after a couple of months when we ended up in the same city. We haven't been together since then, so for over a year now, and recently sort of rekindled in that we had been hanging out and sleeping together. While we were in the same city, we had separated again, so hadn't seen each other. We even had a weekend away together suggested by him. I don't want to bombard with too much info, so what I'm basically asking is for advice, the author's opinions on if it would be worth it to seek something from him, or if I'm being delusional. Would I be reading into us exploring the possibility of getting back together from these instances? Does it sound like he is being more casual? I have seen other guys while we weren't together, and he's seen other people too. I just want to know if I am being delusional, and if I should bring up a serious conversation of where we are going, or if he's just seeing all this as a bit of fun. For extra context, we live in different cities at the moment again, but I am in the process of moving, and he is too, so we are potentially going to be in the same city again. Thanks for watching, guys.